Welcome to Unpacking Peanuts, the podcast where three cartoonists take an in-depth look at the greatest comic strip of all time, Peanuts by Charles M. Schulz.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. It's your old pals from Unpacking Peanuts. We are back. It's a new era. The future lies unwritten before us, and I'm so excited that you're here with us. I'll be your host for these exciting, adventurous proceedings. My name's Jimmy Gownley. I'm also a cartoonist. I did things like Amelia Rules, 7 Good Reasons Not to Grow Up, The Dumbest Idea Ever, and of course, you could read my new comics over there on gvillecomics.substack.com. Joining me as always are my pals, co-hosts, and fellow cartoonists. He's a playwright and a composer for the band Complicated People, as well as for this very podcast. He's the co-creator of the original comic book price guide, the original editor for Amelia Rules, and the creator of such great strips as Strange Attractors, A Gathering of Spells, and Tangled River. It's Michael Cohen.
I should have something new instead of say hey.
All right, well, you think about that.
We'll come back to you.
All right, say hey.
And he's executive producer and writer of Mystery Science Theater 3000, a former vice president of Archie Comics and the creator of the Instagram sensation Sweetest Beasts. It's Harold Buchholz.
Hello.
And making sure we stay out of trouble and everything runs smoothly, it's our producer and editor, Liz Sumner.
Howdy.
Now we are, you know what? These new hellos and stuff, I should have approval of these.
Wait a minute. I know exactly who that is. That's from Hee-Haw.
From the Opry.
Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, yes. Minnie Pearl. Minnie Pearl.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sure the young people out there are like, finally, some Minnie Pearl content.
That's right.
So welcome back to the show. We have completed our great Peanuts reread. We are now in uncharted territory. Yeah, I'm excited. I think it'll be fun. I'm happy that we're doing Snoopy. I think that's really exciting. I think it's going to be, it's fun because I think, Snoopy has become such an icon yet again in recent years, particularly with younger people. But not a lot of them are super familiar with the strip. So should anyone happen upon these podcasts in the great distant future and they want to know about Snoopy, we'll be here to tell them. What are your thoughts, Harold? Are you excited about Snoopy? Are you excited about, do you have any other thoughts about some of our other things we might be doing coming up? Any directions you want to take us on?
I'm going to let you kind of guide the way for a bit here. I'm just enjoying the ride, and Snoopy is a great way to jump out of 50 years of 17,897 strips and into topics, because can we agree Snoopy's greatest cartoon character of all time?
I think has to be. I mean, completely original, has very few, if any, antecedents, lasts forever, is loved around the world. Yeah.
I'd love to try to answer the impossible question, why? We've obviously dipped into it, but here we've got 5 dedicated episodes going through highlights of his career in the strip. Why? Why is this character just... I don't know anybody who said, I don't like Snoopy. I don't think I've ever heard that phrase. I'm sure there's somebody. There's always somebody for some reason.
The contrarians, sure.
Oh, sure, yeah. Or maybe you had a Snoopy plush toy and the head fell off and it traumatized your life or something. Who knows? I had a Mickey Mouse that did that to me, so I don't hold it against him at this point, though.
Yeah, I'm excited. I do have one other thing which is completely unrelated, but I think this will be fun for people who have followed our podcast, thus far. So, Michael, I was reading this comic strip the other day, you may have heard of, called Strange Attractors.
Rings a bell.
And it was it made me laugh out loud. It was not a joke, but it's funny if people know you. But, the gang is involved in a little adventure, an epic adventure. And Sophie says something like, well, can't you just magic our problem away? And then Pirate Peg goes, no, even in magic, there has to be rules. It's just like physics. And I'm like, wow, there is an in-universe rant about there being rules. That was awesome.
Well, we had a Dungeons and Dragons group for many, many years. And 3 of us were dungeon masters. And for years and years afterwards, we just get together and talk about how you can improve the game. And, you know, we made a million changes. But a lot of discussions on magic and how important it was to have some kind of restraint on it. Because if you don't, then basically there's no suspense. You can just get out of anything. Yeah, so we'd always say, you know, well, there's got to be some kind of kickback if you use it. There's a risk of something bouncing back at you. It had to be dangerous. Anyway, so that sort of came out of years and years of discussion about magic.
I feel that at 4 years old, you would have done that. I don't think there needed to be any discussion. That would have been you out of the womb. There's got to be rules.
No, I didn't have rules when I was in the womb.
All right. Well, so with all that said,
It's Snoopy Watch.
we are going to go through these Snoopy strips. So we're starting back at the beginning. In this episode, Michael has picked the strips, but we're going to keep them going forward. I'm going to pick some. And our goal is to just try to figure out, like Harold said, what's going on with this Snoopy? Why is he so popular? And can we help put our fingers on it? So
wait, before you read it in, I'm going to do a little prelude.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so we started off with Snoopy 1950s because the 50s was the decade where I discovered Peanuts.
You don't say.
And this was a little tricky. Actually, it was very difficult doing the 50s. And part of the problem was there was too much for me, way too much for me. But I had rules, of course. And one of the rules was we're not going to redo any strips we've already talked about. I confess, my intention was to check the Google Sheet after I picked a strip to make sure we didn't talk about it, and I might have missed one or two. Sorry. And then the other rule was we're going to limit it to 20 per decade. And what I myself imposed rule was I wanted to cover the various phases of Snoopy's career in the 50s, and which meant that I did pick some very early strips, not because I think they're in the top 20, but because there's two distinct Snoopys in this decade. And the transition happens pretty smoothly, but pretty quick. So
I guess this is the decade Snoopy changes the most, right, Michael? Would you say that?
Well, he goes from puppy to like insane person.
That's extreme.
He goes from cute to not cute at all. Mm-hmm. There'll be more morphing in the future, but this is pretty extreme. You wouldn't recognize them as the same character. If you showed them to someone who'd never seen Peanuts, he'd say there's two dogs.
Yeah, right.
Clearly,
huge difference.
The huge difference. And the thing is, the classic 50s Snoopy has virtually no relationship to later Snoopy. Again, it's a completely different body type. And personality-wise, this is the decade where Snoopy was the funniest character in the strip. For me, this is the Snoopy that I grew up with and I relate to the most.
The crazy one or the
crazy one? The cute Snoopy, lasts a couple of years and they weren't particularly funny. It was just, they're cute. And
cute.
That's why,
yeah.
People do like cute animals in comics, as Harold knows well. But within a few years, he morphed into just an amazing comedian, purposely trying to be funny and also being insanely manic. So this is like, most of this is pre-Doghouse. Doghouse didn't even come into the late 50s. So when we see Snoopy, he's usually dashing around, dancing furiously, knocking stuff over, trying to knock people over, ruining their games, making funny faces, and even when he's by himself, he's just nuts. And I'm thinking, he reminds me of kind of the burlesque period of comics that extended into like TV and in the 50s, where a lot of the guys came out of the burlesque comedy shows where you had, 3-4 minutes and you had to be as funny as possible. And there was really two schools. There was a very intellectual school where you had people like, Mort Saul or even Jack Benny, who was very cool. And, maybe his expression was funny and he's mostly reacting to other people's humor. And then there were a couple of comedians who were like just totally manic, like Jerry Lewis or Danny Kaye, who were always on and trying to just overpower everybody with how crazy they were. And I think that's what Snoopy became, was like, he was just being hilarious all the time and enjoyed annoying people, but he enjoyed making people laugh too.
Yeah, it's like Charlie Brown kind of starts as the wiseacre.
Yeah.
And Snoopy quickly takes over that role.
Yeah.
It seems like.
So you'll see, I felt I had to cover some of the cute Snoopy puppy strips.
Thank you.
And then when we got into the meat of the stuff, there were so many. And we already covered a lot of them, so I had to skip those. But I wanted to pick a variety of the famous Snoopy shticks. I think this is like a good sampler.
Great.
Okay?
Sounds good to me.
All
right, let's get started with those strips. August 4th, 1951. We see good old pigtailed Violet running in, and she says, "I thought I told Snoopy to stay out of that bird bath." And then in the next panel, we see Violet chastising Snoopy, and he is, in fact, sitting in the bird bath. And she says, "You get out of there, Snoopy. You're not a bird." And then Snoopy is, in fact, out of the bird bath in the next panel as Violet starts to walk away. And she says, "No one is allowed in there unless he has wings." And then Violet turns around to see Snoopy back in the bird bath, and he has his ears out, mimicking wings.
Yeah, and he's fluttering them. Yeah, I mean, Snoopy, part of his 50s shtick is imitations. And this is, I don't know if it's the first, but it's very
Is this the first? I cannot believe it's the second time through, and we're saying, there's no way to know. Is this the first? It's impossible to tell.
Nobody could possibly know.
Man, well, these are three classic early cute Snoopy drawings. You got the little profile looking straight into Violet's eyes with a little eyebrow and a cute little upturned smile. Then the next panel is the mouthless, kind of sad Snoopy. It's adorable. And then you've got the little side-eye, comma-eyed Snoopy doing the airplane. It's all very, very cute. And obviously, Schultz knew how to do that really, really well.
And we're in this early period where he's totally in space-saving mode. No backgrounds whatsoever. The only thing is the bird bath, because obviously you need it for the gag to be sold, but otherwise it's a blank square.
Yeah, it's not even the full height of a square like we were seeing in the later strips. It's a rectangle where you didn't benefit from extra width. You just had it chopped off at the top even more. It was a space-saving strip when they sold it, right? And
yep.
It was not a very good sales tool, apparently, since it started in so few newspapers, but he was stuck with it, and he made the most of it. And I think his style came out of his limitations, right?
Oh, it absolutely did. Absolutely did. If he had a half of a sheet of paper, I think he would have gone for, the mid-50s Sunday styles, I think probably. But it was actually a huge benefit to him because it made it instantly iconic.
I wonder at what point he did get the pre-printed, since everything was always the same, so he didn't have to rule that out, because he's got that famous Peanuts in quotes in white serifed font against black in the upper left-hand corner, which he had for so long. Either he had to paste that down, or at some point, like, oh, wait a second. I don't think at this point he could probably afford to go somewhere and say, hey, could you please print on Bristol board this thing over and over again so I don't have to do it? I would guess this would be too early for him to feel like that was a luxury he could figure out, but
looks good. I still am interested in the brush strokes that are used for Violet's hair. If it's a really super flexible pen, but I think he's just putting those in with the brush.
That looks like a brush to
brushy.
me.
Yeah.
Looks super brushy. I don't really like it. It just calls attention to it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It's for an artist anyway. Maybe someone who's doesn't know what brush strokes in their pure form look like.
Wouldn't even think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Does it bother you, Liz? I mean, is it something that when you look at the first panel of Violet's hair, does it seem odd with the white and the black? Or?
I don't think I would have understood what it was that bothered me, but it isn't as attractive as some of the other ways of doing hair. But I am struck by how cute Violet looks in that last panel.
Yeah,
I mean, she's angry in the first three, but she's adorable in the fourth.
Yeah, because Violet and Michael have that in common. They stay out of that bird bath. You can't be there if you're not a bird. That's those rules.
These are rules, people. May 26, 1953, Charlie Brown notices that Snoopy is listening to a record player. Charlie Brown thinks, And then he comes over to Snoopy, who is beyond excited, as Charlie Brown says to him, all right, we'll play it once more, but just once more. That's all. And the music plays again. And Snoopy is just delighted about it. And then Charlie Brown walks away saying, 300 times is enough for anyone to listen to Doggy in the Window.
I'm surprised this did not get picked the first round.
Okay.
So what do you think is going on with the ears, Michael? We just jumped ahead a little less than 2 years.
Pretty big, huh?
Yeah. It's like that second panel, he's almost got a Mickey Mouse kind of.
Yeah, well, this is the origin of him being able to imitate Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, but it's like he's got a bouffant on his ears or something. Is there?
And he looks a little like Beethoven in the first panel.
Yeah, very much. I don't think, I don't know that I would agree that he's a completely different character. I think he looks like a puppy version of the adult Snoopy. And, he does have a totally different body type, but, so do I. Like, you know what I mean? So, I think it reads as Snoopy to me.
Well, the pointy snout, I don't know if that's an actual puppy quality, but it's very different than his later snouts.
Yeah, it's very different, but I still think people would know it's Snoopy.
But even in this strip, the 3 panels we see of Snoopy, each version is different. Like you mentioned, the pointy snout in panel 2, and it's a little thicker and rounder in panel 1, and then you get a totally different angle of Snoopy in panel 3 that makes me think of Ernie Bushmiller.
Yeah,
maybe because the eyes are perfect round circles and the faces are kind of wide there, and the ears are wide. It just looks like he'd drop right into a Fritzy Ritz Nancy comic really easily. But yeah, this Snoopy to me, from cuteness, is a regression. He's not. I mean, he's still cute in that first panel very much, and he's pretty cute in the second one. But from that first strip, it's kind of a step back in the cuteness.
He's less cute, but he is moving towards less cuteness. So
this
is
true,
2 years later. So this is sort of an in-between phase.
But if you were looking at, in that first panel, you're looking at the first half of Snoopy's face and you didn't see the ear, and then you pulled back to reveal the ear, you'd be like, whoa, that is not what I was expecting to be on the back of his head there.
I just did that with my hand. When you do that, it really highlights how weird that is. I think we talked about this. I called it the Larry Fine. He has.
Well, the other thing that strikes me is that something that I really started to notice and just take for granted, because Schultz is such an amazing cartoonist, and he seems to be so good at finding what works, even though it breaks the rules, because it looks good. He wants to emphasize certain things. That when he had a profile and you had the little back legs, in the end, the back legs were like
tiny.
They were tiny, like 1/6 the size of the front leg. And here he's following the rule that the back leg has to be, and the paw has to be the same size exactly. And at some point, that's not meaningful anymore to him. And he's been able to break that drawing rule, and that rule of, the model of the character has to follow, if you have a front paw, the back paw's got to be the same size. That goes away at some point.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that goes away is just his perspective here. Like, where he'll be putting characters behind other characters, like in Panel 3. He does it, but rarely later.
Yeah, it's true.
And then in the 50s, I think we're still right here at this super minimal modernist look. But eventually, as we get into like the Sunday pages of the 50s, you'll see like really elaborate backgrounds. So he was still interested in like that type of drawing, but eventually it becomes all iconography again.
And one other thing that it looks unusual now is his word balloons. He set a rule for himself after a while. And now, the strip started to be square instead of wide rectangles at the beginning here in the later strips. But he created the rule for himself that the text is almost always going to be starting at the upper left-hand corner, running all the width until I run out of text to write. And then I'll have a little, line with a pointing balloon underneath it. And you won't see a floating balloon, or you won't see the edge of the circle of the balloon like you see in the second panel here in the upper right-hand corner. And, in the fourth panel, he's got a totally floating balloon. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I guess he decided that was taking away from the characters by having design in the balloons. And so he became kind of rigid in that way. So you're just focusing on the characters, and the balloons are just delivering the text and not becoming an art element.
Well, isn't it related to the fact that there's no backgrounds? I mean, he can do more things with balloons when there isn't anything that it's covering.
I think so. I think that's true. Yeah, he is super minimalist in this beginning, and he is working technically with less space, at least related to his peers, right, on the comic strip page, because they've chopped off the tops of his strip, and in some cases they're running it in a column. So he has to design, assuming the editors might stick it into a tinier space than the massive cartoons that were still being printed in newspapers in 1952 and 3,
October 11th, 1954. Charlie Brown is operating one of those fantastic new Brownie cameras. I don't know if it is, but it's a camera. And he's taking a picture of Snoopy, who is glowering at him. And Charlie Brown says, "Come on, Snoopy, give me a smile." And then Snoopy gives him a smile, but is actually just making a ridiculous face. And then Charlie Brown's getting annoyed, says, "Oh, come on, give me a big smile." And then in the next panel, Snoopy gives him an absolutely insane face. This is something you're really going to have to look at to get the full value for it. Wild eyes, fangs bared, tongue sticking out, ridiculous smile. And that sends Charlie Brown into a rage. He's chasing Snoopy, yelling, "You drive me crazy." And as Snoopy runs away, he has a big smile on his face.
This is like mid-period Snoopy already, and we're like 4 years in. Yeah, that little sausage upper mouth, skinny, whereas it's really globular later on. By the way, when I saw panel 3 makes me laugh still. You know what it reminds me of? It's Basil Wolverton.
Oh, yes.
Who's doing these Mad Magazine cover. I think some covers and illustrations where basically it was like the most grotesque images you can imagine of a form.
Yeah.
And that was very popular.
Yeah, famously, Al Capp had a character called Lena the Hyena, who was supposed to be like the least attractive person in the world. And they did a contest of who could draw the ugliest character, and Basil Wolverton won.
Because we had never seen Lena, right? They just talked about her
in
the strip. And so Basil won. Is it Basil or Basil?
I said Basil. I don't know.
It could be. It probably is Basil. I think that.
I think it is Basil. I think I know somebody who was a big fan.
But panel 3 is not a cute Snoopy. This would not be on your T-shirt.
Well, someone's T-shirt it might.
It shocks Charlie Brown.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and if just 3 strips we've gone through, and what year was this here?
54.
54.
So a year left.
Just looking at this relative size of Snoopy to Violet and then Charlie Brown in the second, and then this third one, Snoopy is getting to be much closer to the size of the kids in this period. And also already that back haunch is starting to shrink in relationship to the front haunch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's starting to break the rules even now, but it's still close. It's closer than certainly what we saw later.
Still, the ears are very huge.
Yeah, the ears are still, what would you call them? Fluffy or big,
Swollen.
almost
They're huge.
Yeah, they're these ovals, these like football size ovals. I guess he's a football ear at this point.
Yeah.
And the Brownie camera has a strap on the top so that Charlie Brown can hold it and use it like a mallet.
Yeah.
Look at the size of Snoopy's feet, especially in panel 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be a big dog.
Yeah. But also the snout, the way he's doing the snout during this period, it's flexible.
Yeah, panel 4, it's pretty thin there, right?
The first 3 we saw, it's kind of pointy and it's not going to bend very much.
Mm-hmm.
Now the 1950s Snoopy he can bend that snout in any direction he wants.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And it gives a dynamism to his character. I mean, the Peanuts kids pretty much stay inflexible through the entire run of the strip, but Snoopy breaks free.
So let's stop for just a second and talk about, what would he have been influenced by to create a dog in a comic strip at this point? There was, how many famous dogs were there in comics before Snoopy? There was
The very first one I thought of,
Buster Brown.
Buster Brown, Tig.
Yeah, Tig.
Yeah.
Blondie had Daisy, and Daisy was in the movies, and just people loved Daisy. And then had Pups, and that was a famous moment in American culture when.
Yeah.
And then there was was it Fifi, the dog in Bringing Up Father? That's just this little Art Deco pointy nose, looks like a mouse. It's beautifully designed, but kind of forgotten today. But I'm trying to think of the things that Schultz.
Officer Pup.
And they're just all very much dogs.
Yeah, that's the thing. Snoopy at this point is no longer a dog. He was a dog in the first 3, even though, a dog's not going to listen to Doggy in the Window. He's still sitting there much like a dog who likes music. This is not a dog.
Right. And who were the dogs that broke the rules that might have given
I think
Schultz
it's just funny animals. I mean, you got Bugs Bunny, you got Woody Woodpecker.
Yeah.
I think it's more along
Felix the
those
cat,
lines.
turn your tail into a question mark and all of that sort of thing had been around.
But
for a long time.
but that's, as he progresses, he becomes that way. But that would not have been that early impetus.
What's that now?
Well, like he becomes more like Felix the cat and whatever later.
Okay, I mean, because I was thinking of the animals or the characters that would have given him the permission to go the direction Michael's describing.
Yeah.
And I think like Eugene the Jeep, he's a Jeep. It's a strange animal. Or the Shmoo are these oddball animals that break the rules, but they're cute and they're
I think his
interesting.
influences at this right now, 54, is animation, not comic strips.
You think animation? Why do you say that?
Because I think this is something, faces getting distorted that much, maybe for a second and then back to normal.
Like a Tex Avery kind of exaggeration. And the interesting thing is that he designed the kids where he really couldn't do that much with them. But Snoopy, he's slowly changing so that he can. So yeah, he seems to be slowly giving himself more permission to go on the edges of things. And it's fascinating to watch. And just these 3 strips are really good choices to give us a sense of what he's willing to do with Snoopy.
October 17th, 1955. Snoopy and Lucy are in the first panel. Lucy has squatted down to Snoopy's level and she says, "Sit up, Snoopy, and I'll give you a reward." And he does it. He sits up on his hind legs and does a little begging pose. And Lucy very excitedly says, "That's the way." And then she says, "Here then is a dog's greatest reward, a pat on the head by a human being." And she pats Snoopy on the head. Pat, pat. And then an outraged Snoopy, after she leaves in the last panel, thinks to himself, "Oh, good grief."
Yeah, it's anger. This is part of his character in the 50s is being treated like a dog.
Yeah, he does not like that.
When you look at that second panel, Snoopy, does it make you think of anything? Any particular character other than
Kangaroo?
Peanuts? For some reason, it makes me think of Huckleberry Hound with the flat head, which is right around this era from TV animation. It's slightly angular in the way he's designed it. That's a really interesting Snoopy.
Huckleberry Hound's from the 50s. I thought it was a 60s thing.
Oh, let me double check real quick. Okay, so they were just starting to stylize the characters in the way I was kind of describing, but Huckleberry Hound himself doesn't show up till 58. Really?
That's still earlier than I would have thought. Okay, well, let's talk about ears here. They seem to be a little thinner.
Yeah, a little more. What do you? I mean, it's like a deflated football on one side now.
Yeah.
It's like a kidney bean or something.
Yeah, the snout definitely is a little longer. Snout's growing. Well,
the back paw smaller again than the one prior. It's shrinking.
And still no backgrounds. But he's thinking. So, I'm sure we picked the first Snoopy thoughts when we were picking year by year in the 50s. But, at this point, that's the classic. That's how Snoopy communicates from now on. There are a few panels, if you recall, that they actually had regular word balloons, like he was talking, but that didn't work.
Yeah, well, he was doing the puffy cloud balloon with the pointer, right? Those hybrid balloons, and that's just twice as confusing as it needs to be. One of the things that's strange, I've been doing that in the Real Dark Night on Substack, and it has thought balloons in it. And every time I do it, there's a whole generation of kids that grew up reading comic books without thought balloons if they read Marvel and DC. Because they were bad.
They just got rid of them, kind of?
No, there was actually like a fiat from editorial in DC that was like, thought balloons are stupid and childish. So don't use them in Green Lantern.
What?
Oh, yeah. Literally, they were not allowed to use thought
What a shame.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's one of the...
No thinking.
Yeah, no thinking.
Don't ever let a character think it's stupid and childish.
Everything converted to captions as if it's like a voiceover. And then they put like the logo of the character in the balloon or in the box, so you know who's talking, who's thinking.
So what era would this have been?
I think it's still going on.
Okay, so
yeah,
that's interesting. I'm not a huge fan of superhero comics, but those are things that I absolutely loved about those. I think of the early Spider-Man when he's thinking through. His origin story, he's thinking through all of these things, and it's all his interior story.
While he's falling off a skyscraper.
Yeah.
Nobody to talk to, right? It'd be kind of silly if he was talking out loud while he's swinging between buildings and, just talking into the wind. And then the other thing I always loved about early comics that I was told, maybe I heard it from you, Jimmy, that I thought, what a shame that this went out of style and was considered inappropriate, was when you had the caption and it describes the thing you're seeing, with an amazing show of strength. Superman sweeps in under the bridge and rescues the children in the school bus and takes them to safety or something like that. To me, reading it and seeing it at the same time is the magic of comics. And then they said, no, don't, while you're telling, because you're showing. But to me, somehow the two are like magic when they're
Well, I think
together.
It was the Hernandez brothers in the early 80s from 11 Rockets who did away with Meanwhile 2 days later on the other side of town, those kind of captions.
Yeah.
So it gets to the point where they're changing locations and even time. And there's no way to describe like 5 years ago.
No warning.
The guys were so good that you could tell from like the hairstyles that, this is 5 years earlier.
I remember the first time I saw that in 11 Rockets, where it's Izzy standing in one panel in one pose, and then the next panel she's standing in the same pose, but she's wearing different clothes and looks younger, and you're like, oh, this was 10 years ago. and thought,
Oh, wow.
wow.
That's cool.
So I think that caught on, but it was kind of shocking at first.
Well, and the thing about things that catch on, the genius, this is like Eddie Van Halen. Like, wow, that's amazing to hear you do that. I don't want to hear the next 30,000 people who aren't as good as you try to do that. You know, I think that's a lot of problems. I think some people need those, meanwhile, on the other side of town, Captain.
Well, but there's those rules, and they are rules, kind of sink in where, no word balloons, because they don't use thought balloons. No thought balloons, no descriptive captions.
Yeah.
Find other ways of doing it. And Jaime, in his first Love and True Maggie story, makes it all the captions are from a letter she's writing. That didn't last long, but that was another way of getting around thought balloons and dialogue. She's writing to her
I guess,
friend.
and that's also gives it the feel that Harold is looking for, where it is very much telling you the story in those words, and then you're seeing a picture that confirms it. I never thought about that, but that, even though I felt, and to this day, that strip it's called Mechanics, and it's in Love and Rockets #2, feels like a super modern thing to me. But it's really looking back. I never thought about it that way until right now.
Interesting.
November 17th, 1955. Charlie Brown and Snoopy are hanging out on the curb like they used to before the thinking wall was a thing. And Snoopy looks a little annoyed, and Charlie Brown says to him, "I won't believe it until I see it. Do you hear me?" And then they both notice that Violet is walking down the street right past them. And then in panel 3, Snoopy jumps up and joins her. He falls right in line behind Violet, and he takes his ear, which is normally hanging down like a regular dog's ear, and he makes it so it resembles the bun in Violet's hair. And he mimics her facial expression and her posture as Charlie Brown watches. And then a kind of semi-disgusted Charlie Brown says to Snoopy after it's over, "All right, I was wrong. You can do imitations." And there's a big smile on Snoopy's face. There's no way we didn't do this strip.
No, we
It feels
didn't.
like something we would have picked.
No, he was doing a lot of imitations. This was I don't think this was one.
It doesn't matter.
But what's
The
interesting,
rules, Liz, the rules.
what's interesting here is what's implied in panel 1, that Charlie Brown is hearing Snoopy's thoughts.
Right. That's a really good point. Yeah. I won't believe it until I see it. Do you hear me? How would he know? What?
Someone else saw it and said, if like Linus saw it and said, "Hey, your dog does imitations."
Yeah, but then he's talking to Snoopy saying, "I won't believe it."
Well, yeah, right. So Linus says that to him, and then he sits down next to Snoopy and has a conversation, which we don't see the beginning of.
Well, then we can also
My dad
say
was a war hero, by the way, and I'm like, I think Charlie Brown, he must be so proud of me. Look, I think Snoopy's snout is slightly too pointy.
Different strengths.
That's right.
Strengths. Yeah, one had some.
Oh. Well, then we can flip that and say that this strip at least makes it look like Snoopy can understand Charlie Brown.
Yes, definitely.
No, but he always could. I think going the other way around, it starts somewhere, but this might not be the first time. But eventually, before too long, everyone can hear what Snoopy's thinking.
Yeah, it gets into that surreal, dreamlike territory. Now, once again, that rear paw is about now 40% of the size of the front.
I mean, that's tiny. In that
and it's going to get even smaller.
But it's also the front feet are way too big.
In panel 3, they are. It's a reversal in panel 3.
And panel 1.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, and it's interesting to see what he's doing and why that rear paw is so tiny. He has the arch of Snoopy's back going into his tail, and he does not want that broken by the rear haunch because he loves the design of the swoop of that back, and he does not want something to break that. And that's really cool, actually.
Do you know what I think what makes it work? The fact that he has such fluidity, particularly with Snoopy's design, but everybody's design, really. It's that, one, there is nothing else, no extraneous stuff. So everything that's there, he like wants you to look at, but the inking is so smooth and there's not a lot of, filigree hatching and stuff like that. So it makes everything look intentional. There's no point where you're thinking, you're almost not even thinking about it as a drawing. It's just, that's not a drawing of Snoopy and Violet. That's just Snoopy and Violet, because nothing, there's no, the wavy line isn't a thing. There's no bad drawing choices like, say, I would make. It's just the intentionality of it is so precise that you don't think about the fact that he's breaking all sorts of anatomical rules with these characters.
Yeah. And one thing that Schultz has been messing around a little bit in these early strips, and you really see it when he's imitating Violet, is that really interesting black shape of the ear and the nose, where you add a little bit of the white on the edges and a sheen, and somehow that just gives a little more pop to the things. You see it in the first panel of Snoopy's nose; it's definitely there, and then it kind of disappears. And there's a little bit of white on the side and bottom of his ear in that first panel. But Violet, really nice design of her hair, where you can see, you feel like she has jet black hair and she's catching the light of the sun, and it's got sheen all around it. And it's got these design elements of the circle of but she's got the bun on the top of her head there. And then this line around it that suggests that there's it's just really shining in the sun. And so when Snoopy gets behind her, all of a sudden his ear has that sheen. And we're going to see more of Snoopy having that in the future. He does it a little bit, but in these reproductions, it looks like he's kind of halfway between, you can't really see it because it all smudges together, and it really being defined. Like in the fourth panel is kind of like that. And he does that in earlier strips we were just looking at. But I feel like he kind of nails that later as part of that perfect Snoopy design.
November 22nd, 1955. Charlie Brown is following a very self-satisfied looking Snoopy, and Charlie Brown says, "Whoever heard of a dog doing imitations? It's silly, that's what it is. I don't know why I bother talking about it." And at this point, as Charlie Brown is ranting, Snoopy catches, his eye catches something off panel. And then we see in the next panel, Lucy's sitting there on the curb, just smiling, minding her own business. And Snoopy sits next to her and arranges his ears in a perfect copy of Lucy's hairstyle. And Charlie Brown looks at the two of them and yells, "Oh, stop it." And baffles Lucy, who says, "Stop it? Stop what, Charlie Brown?" And Charlie Brown and Snoopy walk away with Charlie Brown saying, "Never mind, what you don't know won't hurt you."
A little happy Snoopy running off.
That was in the Snoopy Reinhardt collection where I'd first discovered Peanuts.
Oh.
So it really stands out in your memory.
Oh, really? Yeah, a strong memory of that one.
Yes, boy, that nose is getting there. It's long, getting elongated. The ear still is a little bouffanty.
Well, when we see this next strip, I mean, he looks like he has an eating disorder. There was something severely wrong with him. June 23rd, 1956. Snoopy is sitting on top of a croquet pole. And he's just having his own little sit-in, I guess. And Charlie Brown comes up to him and says, "So you won't come down, eh?" And then a defiant Snoopy is still staying on top of the pole. And Charlie Brown shakes his fist and says, "Then you know what we're going to do? We're going to ignore you." And then Charlie Brown walks away, and Snoopy watches him and stays on top of the pole. And then the last panel, Snoopy has slid to the bottom of the pole and thinks to himself, "Rats, I can't stand being ignored."
Okay, imagine a 1970s Snoopy in that pose. I mean, I don't know if he could even do it because he's so bendable.
Yeah, this Snoopy he's not cute anymore, that's for sure. This is such a different Snoopy than what we started out with here.
Well, this is the part where Schultz calls it. He said he was appalled at the way he drew Snoopy in this era.
I love this so much.
It's very expressive. It's like this Snoopy in this time in the 50s means something different to Schultz in the strip. There's this independence in Snoopy. And yeah, I mean, the fact that he's not a cute little dog anymore somehow redefines him.
He's a chaos agent. That's what he is.
Yeah, and I mean,
but you can use it in a strip because that just keeps things. It's not like a croquet game, which is boring.
You love croquet.
Yeah, but it is boring. Boring to watch.
And it's fascinating to me that that those rear haunches we've been talking about been shrinking. Now with his butt kind of going down by sitting on just this tiny little croquet post, he can angle the back feet as if they are also on top of the post, possibly impossibly, I guess you could say. He's just broken all of his own rules for this character. Now he looks so incredibly different.
I'm curious about the difference between panel 1 and panel 2. They're approximately the same pose, but Charlie Brown is a whole lot shorter in the second panel.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Well, and he's trying to, I think, show the Snoopy's kind of regal, haughty pose that somehow Snoopy has gotten larger in relationship to Charlie Brown metaphorically. That's quite a panel.
Yeah,
imagine that on a tote bag.
He couldn't be carrying Snoopy in panel 2. Snoopy's bigger than he is.
Yeah. August 25th, 1956. Schroeder comes up to Charlie Brown, who's standing in the background with his hands on his hips, looking stern, and in the foreground, Snoopy is having a seizure. And Schroeder says to Charlie Brown, "What's going on here?" And Snoopy continues to freak out in panel 2 as Charlie Brown answers, "I walked 2 miles to bring Snoopy to this park so he could frolic." And then Charlie Brown yells, "And when I walk that far for a dog, he'd better frolic." And then we see Snoopy frolicking like a maniac. That's what he's been doing.
The punchline is brilliant because nothing changes.
Yeah.
No one's reacting. It's just like nothing.
It's like now you know what Snoopy's doing. Yeah.
He's trying to annoy him.
Oh, you think he's trying to annoy him, or
he's
just stressed out?
Are you out of your mind?
He's trying to do what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, he's being a good boy. He's trying to frolic.
You think so?
I don't think so. I know so.
But he's nervously doing it.
Yeah.
So he looks uptight while frolicking. That's such an
Charlie
amazing
Brown
thing.
is stressing him out.
I think he's trying to get his goat.
No. Like
Wrong.
there's
Even with that first panel and the third panel, where he's looking like he's super stressed,
terrified.
and upset.
Yeah.
But it doesn't read as stress. It reads as
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
But what's it mean to you, Michael, when you see that first panel? What's Snoopy's expression like?
he's acting bizarre. He's not doing what Charlie Brown wants to do. He's not frolicking.
Yes, he is.
He's
doing
an imitation of frolicking.
He's doing imitation.
Yeah, he's a hostage frolicking.
No, I disagree.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to piss off Charlie
You are
Brown.
completely right. There's
I
no
don't see
way
that
that's
at all.
a correct reading. No.
Well, that's the beauty of it. It works both ways.
Yeah, it is
Well,
the beauty of it. Being right.
See, we're all
is
satisfied. We all love Snoopy no matter what. Well, yeah, okay. Now, again, this version of Snoopy, he's not a good-looking dog. We were always talking about a rerun at the end of the strip, going to be an underground cartoonist. I could see that second panel, Snoopy, being an underground cartoon. He'd fit well because he's kind of got this ugly, nice design look to him.
It's more like a Dr. Seuss drawing.
It's more like weed claustrophobia.
Yeah, well, we're going to see some of that.
Yeah, so this Snoopy with these really blocky little kid characters, he's popping so hard out of this strip.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty remarkable.
November 18th, 1956. Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and Lucy are out in a field. Charlie Brown has a little ball, and he throws it for Snoopy to go fetch. And it goes into a giant batch of high grass. So we see Snoopy at first go into the high grass. He gets a little bit confused. Then he gets a little nervous, and then he totally freaks out, and then he runs back what looks like on top of the weeds. And then in the last panel, he comes out with the ball, and Charlie Brown says to Lucy, "When you have claustrophobia, you learn to walk on top of the weeds."
Okay, this is sort of magic happening already. Not only is he not a dog, he can suspend the laws of physics.
Yeah.
Due to panic.
Yeah. He's got a full peanut snout now. And that little peanut head is all there. And when he's at least stressed out, the back ears are super elongated. And when he's running toward the weeds, that's quite an evolution. What we've just seen in over a few strips. It's amazing.
This Snoopy feels even, I don't know, like that, the one where it's just his head up there, that barely looks like it's holding together as a drawing. Like panel.
How do you mean?
Panel 3 on the second tier. I don't know. Like it looks like a severed head. I think
I can sort of see a body.
It partly has to do with, I think this is obviously a recolor. Because they put a little bit of like tone in the grass or whatever. It just looked, I don't know.
Well, his head could not pop out above by him standing.
Yeah, there's some surreal stuff in here. Yeah.
But the weeds, that's a running gag.
Weed claustrophobia.
Yeah, which I've always remembered as one of Snoopy's best shticks.
All right. Well, one of our best shticks is to take a break. So how about we do that right now and then come back on the other side and we'll see if we can understand more about Snoopy.
All righty. Did you complete the Great Peanuts reread? Then show the world with our latest t-shirt, a giant 17,897 emblazoned on your chest for all to see. When people stop you to ask what it means, you can tell them about the greatest comic strip of all time and the podcast that unpacks it. Order your t-shirts today at unpackingpeanuts.com/store.
All right. Well, I am hanging out in the mailbox, and I'm just wondering, do we got anything, Liz?
We do. We heard from a couple of people. We heard from Paul Castiglia. He's talking about our final episode of the reread with the strips from 2000, and he says, "I'll have you know today's episode destroyed me.
Aww.
But in the kindest way possible, the way that reminds you your heart has been filled with humanity, empathy, and love all along the way."
Wow.
Thanks,
That
Paul.
is beautiful.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. And Frank Buccello writes, "Thank you for your touching wrap-up, a sad but happy ending to the reread. An additional thank you to Michael. During your discussion about the challenges of aging artists keeping their work vibrant over a long career, Michael made a comparison to Beethoven's string quartets. While I'm a classical music lover, I never thought of using that comparison of early, middle, and late periods of the quartets with Charles Schulz's work. I immediately re-listened to the quartets and found a new appreciation of them, along with more appreciation of the effort of Charles Schulz to keep the strip so interesting for so long. Peanuts and Beethoven in the same podcast? What more could anyone ask for?"
Wow.
That's amazing. I'm going to have to listen to that. That's really interesting.
So that's it for the mail. Anything in the hotline?
Just heard from super listener Mary, who said, "Thanks for making me emotional at work." Yeah, so if you want to keep in touch, you can shoot us an email or unpackingpeanuts@gmail.com. And we are on our hotline. We are 717-219-4162. You can text like Mary did, or you can leave a voicemail. If you text, just make sure you introduce yourself. Other than that, that's it.
All righty.
All right.
Oh, and remember, I worry when I don't hear.
Thanks for writing and calling.
Yes, thanks for those. Those are lovely notes. That was an emotional ending. We kind of knew it was going to happen, and we're so glad we could share it with you guys.
Yeah. Hey, Harold, where are you going to be?
Those of you in the Connecticut area, on the 11th through the 14th, I'm going to be at the Berlin Country Fair in Connecticut. That's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. For September 25th, 26th, 27th, and 28th, I'm going to be at the Durham Country Fair, Agricultural Fair in Connecticut, and looking forward to seeing people there.
All right. What do you say we get back to the old strips? November 25th, 1956. Schroeder is plunking away at the toy piano, and Snoopy has his snout resting on it. He's enjoying the music, and he enjoys the music slightly more with each panel. By the time we get to the fourth panel, he's kind of like humming along, going, and Schroeder continues to play, and Snoopy continues to self-satisfied hum, and then he goes with ooh, this is a fun one to read, and then a big sigh as Schroeder finishes the piece, and then Snoopy falls right off the piano and says Chopin.
Well, I was 6 years old, so he said Chopin.
Right?
And I'm going like, oh, that must be a composer.
Oh.
It should be what we say when we like music. That was chopping, man. That song was chopping.
Totally.
Now, looking at the design of this feels like Charles Schulz is now at the forefront of his era of design in a comic. He's found something that nobody else is doing, and he's made it his own, and Snoopy's like the star example of that. There's nobody drawing quite like this, right?
No, there's nobody who would draw essentially the same panel over and over again with just one character. I mean, the both of them are moving, obviously, but it's, Schroeder's staying more still, and Snoopy, is kind of emoting all over the place. I would never want to draw this as a cartoonist, to draw the same kid at a piano 8 times in a row. That's very difficult. But it looks awesome.
Yeah. And one of the things we were talking about, how after a while, when Schroeder and Lucy are at the piano, he almost always has Schroeder just kind of hovering over the keys. Well, I guess it's more like Snoopy in the typewriter. There's just one pose. And here, because Snoopy is responding to the playing, we got all sorts of different poses of where Schroeder's hands are, that you can really feel like he's playing different moods and moments in the Chopin.
It feels like this might be one of the strips that they referenced for Schroeder in like the Christmas special.
I was thinking that,
yeah. Particularly that shot on the second tier, third panel. I can picture that being the the bump 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 bump. That is the animation of him playing those chords.
And the drapery here, that with this art style, it just feels like he's of his era and defining something for this era that's kind of exciting.
This may be sacrilegious, but Snoopy is expressing cat behavior in this.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. I can see that. I can see that. Because I draw cats in my comics and they act like dogs. So go figure.
It's funny. We were talking about Snoopy enjoying art and stuff like that. And, we have a cat, and Stella showed me that animated movie Flow that won the Academy Award last year, I guess it was, which is all about animals like surviving a flood. And our cat watched the entire thing. Really? Stared right at it, jumped up, was looking at would get up on the table that was holding the TV. We'd have to take her down. She was totally into it.
Wow. And I think I'll shut up about this after I mention this, because this is the ultimate strip to show what Schulz is thinking for those hind haunches. It's all about what can I fit into the shape of the back without crossing the line at the back with the haunches, because it changes every single drawing since he's all over the place. But you can see if he's got room to put a big haunch, because there's got a big arch in the back, like in panel 5, he'll do it. If he doesn't have it, like in panel 3, he'll make it as tiny as he has to make it.
Because he is not going to break that big smooth line of his back.
And this is the first time I noticed what he was doing with that, because it's clear now to me he loves the arch of the back, and that's never going to get violated no matter what for the back paw. Yeah. Never saw that before.
Yep. March 17th, 1957, Charlie Brown is behaving like a kid from the 1870s by rolling a barrel stave wheel or whatever with a stick. A hoop and a stick, I think is the game, what it's called, hoop and stick. And Snoopy chases after it, and as Charlie Brown is rolling the hoop, Snoopy is zooming through it. Then he's racing it, Then he's lying on top of it as it rolls beneath him. But then, of course, all good things come to an end, and it causes Charlie Brown to trip, and they fall over each other, and Charlie Brown screams, "Og!" And then they land in a pile of dust with Snoopy on top of Charlie Brown's stomach, the hoop around Charlie Brown's head, the little stick shattered, and Charlie Brown says, "You drive me crazy." This is another example of him drawing the same. One character is the same drawing, essentially, for almost the whole strip. It's Charlie Brown with the hand out and the hoop.
Okay. Well, I'm just admiring how long Snoopy's body is.
Yeah, and how he can arch it in that animation kind of line of action way. Like when he's floating above the hoop and his entire body on its back is mimicking the angle of the hoop. Great. Love it.
I wonder who the first person to use speed lines was. You know, we just assume that reads as a dog racing, right? Yeah. Charlie Brown running, all that, but it's just, it's pure graphic design. It's not imitating anything visual that you could actually see.
And is it very common what he's doing, like that upper right-hand corner panel where the speed lines don't begin behind him, they begin like at his neck, and they go through his body. I guess everyone has a different way of doing it, but that's it.
I think that feels like it's extra fast. And it also may have been that he didn't like how stretched out Snoopy's body became, and he masked it.
He didn't have much space in the panels to put behind him.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
I love him going through the hoop, especially the first time. And Charlie Brown has a big question mark. Talk about elongated and again, but the cute Snoopy's kind of still there, you know.
Is he whistling in that first panel on the bottom?
He's humming at least to himself.
Okay, this is off topic, but it's showing off how my art history classes. The guy named Lionel Feininger invented a modern art technique called futurism.
Where you see motion.
And futurism was showing motion in the paintings. It was depicting motion. Feininger had a comic strip in the 1920s.
He did?
Yes.
Wow.
And it'd be interesting to look at it and see what he's using for motion lines. Yeah, and it was beautiful. Of course, in the 1920s, there was, you know.
He was the guy who did the Kinder Kids.
Yeah, the Kinder Kids, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Super stylized. Yeah.
June 16th, 1957. Charlie Brown is blowing some bubbles out of a bubble pipe, and Snoopy is chasing them. The first one he catches ever so gently in his teeth, but then he swallows it, and he doesn't like that taste. Then this starts up all over again because we have that weird issue of the strip being the top tier being cut off, and Charlie Brown says to Schroeder, "Snoopy's the only dog in the world who can retrieve a soap bubble." And we see this. Snoopy goes to catch a bubble. He has it perched in his teeth, and then he swallows it again. Gulp. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels that you really just got to see. Great cartooning of Snoopy freaking out, having just swallowed a soap bubble. Beautiful coloring, even turns green in the last 2 panels. And then he's leaning, nauseated, up against Charlie Brown's stomach in the last panel. And Charlie Brown says to Schroeder, "Of course, it's not one of those things you can do all day long."
Okay, so Harold, you're the animation expert. I've seen this in cartoons. Somebody drinks something and they get all distorted. Can you think of what it is? It's like a Bugs Bunny or something.
Ickety ackety oop, zickety zackety zoop, squeak, flippity flappity floop. It's yours. Daffy Duck in Alibaba Bunny.
Okay. All right. I thought that would have been Harold. But
wow. Impressed. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, this is a tour de force of art styles. And again, Schultz is not afraid to make Snoopy look odd, to look ugly, to look, just to express something. That last panel in tier 2.
That could be in the 70s. Of not Peanuts.
Yeah, I don't know what he's imitating, but when I see it, I see influence on other people, not influence on him. So I see that last panel and it makes me think of all things the DePatie Freeling ant in the aardvark.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I don't know why, but that's that kind of weird stylized, angled, somewhat ugly design.
The really ugly one is the one after that, first panel on the third tier, where he looks like he had his head stuck in a Pringles can or something like that. When I say ugly, though, like it totally is all work. Like this is great. I don't dislike it. I love it. The ones that I think are actually adorable drawings are the last two, the green ones. I love both of those.
Yeah, you really feel for him. He's so messed up.
I don't think this top tier works. Like, I think it's better if you cut the top tier off.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't mind a few more drawings Snoopy just because they're so fascinating. But
they're great. But I'm just saying,
they're obviously unnecessary because they.
But look at the blue one, the number 2 on the top and number 3 in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
that's as close to a photocopy as I've ever seen.
He's missing one.
Yeah,
and he doesn't have the motion lines.
Yeah.
What do you think of the third panel in the bottom? I highly recommend, if you were listening, go back and look at this one because this is crazy amazing.
June 16th, 1957.
This is one of the, thank you. That's one of the peak Snoopy strips of all time. And that third panel in the bottom tier as well makes me think of so much stuff like from slightly later in cartooning. And I don't know who was doing it at this point, but it shows what he's capable of and the lengths he's willing to go to get across a comic idea. He's not restrained by the design of Snoopy. He is willing to break rule after rule after rule. It's just master cartooning. He's obviously very, very confident in what he's doing. He's inventing things for himself. And, it's hard to do that sometimes as an artist sometimes we are trying to look like something else. We often are trying to look like something else. And when you do something different, you think it's wrong because you haven't seen it before. It takes a genius to be able to, or somebody who just can't do it otherwise.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's more, he's on the genius side. I think that he's finding looks of things. I mean, you can just go through the strip over and over again. The top panel on the right were these bags under his eyes that actually overlap each other, which suggests not only is he really put out and knocked out from what he's just done, he's super knocked out that the bags, I've never seen anybody draw the bags under the eyes of a character overlapping.
Well, he's also drawing, the more expressive Snoopy gets, it looks like the faster he's going. I think that's what's given you that like 70, like if there is a controlled carefulness to Charlie Brown and Schroeder, and it's just pure abstract art when it comes to Snoopy as he gets, more and more freaked out by swallowing the bubble.
And I think the juxtaposition, like you said, of that fixedness of the human characters against Snoopy makes Snoopy all the more fantastic because he's living in that world and he's breaking the rules that no one else is. Yeah.
I would definitely get a t-shirt with that next to last Snoopy, the one with the tongue sticking out.
No one would recognize it.
It'd be a great shirt anyway.
Who is that?
Yeah, just do a collage of those. Can you imagine just the ones that don't have any dialogue? That would be an amazing shirt. They've probably done that one. I hope they have. That's great.
June 28th, 1957. Here's a seminal moment. Charlie Brown is teaching Snoopy how to walk on his hind legs, and he's very gently holding his front paws as Snoopy gets upright, and Charlie Brown says, "Stand up, Snoopy. I'll teach you to walk on your hind legs." And then, of course, Snoopy just does it instantly great and with various emotion. And Charlie Brown is annoyed, and by the fourth panel, he says, "It's no fun teaching you anything." Now, Charlie Brown should have known this was happening since he's already seen Snoopy walk upright.
Yeah. But he's really got that imitation thing down. I mean, the way this is almost like R. Crumb type cartooning, the way people walk, they're depressed, they're bouncy.
Yeah. I'm thinking 50s. This is Snoopy in the 50s.
Yeah.
You'd think almost like 90s Snoopy would be more likely to be kind of the thing he's going for in the 50s. I don't know. But looking at this, you think like Mort Saul, and
Well,
like you say, it's this that third panel, Snoopy, is nuts, and it takes me back to Schultz saying, "I did not make this strip for kids. I would not even begin to know how to make a strip for kids." And then I look at this, and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
It's, as an artist, it's the first thing you have to do is interact with your own culture, right? If you're going to be successful, you have to somehow find something that will speak to the people who are reading it at the time. But then, you're also probably slave, and, you're just associated with all of the kinds of tropes and stylistic tricks and everything that are for that era. It's wild to see something that was resonating in its time, but still really, really feels timeless. I've been reading a bunch of 80s comics on the Marvel and DC apps, and you have to completely get yourself in the mindset of what these things are. And you kind of have to overlook things, and maybe you skip some of the captions or whatever, and you can approximate a good time. But this requires none of that. You just read it. It's perfect. It's great. There it is.
Yeah. Like great cartooning is just stripping away all the barriers to accessing someone's mind.
Yeah.
Visually and with words. And this is like cartooning at its finest.
I laugh every time I look at these. I saw them recently.
July 3rd, 1957. It's raining and Snoopy's walking in the rain. It's just all coming down on him. And then we see Charlie Brown and Lucy run by in their swimsuits, and they're singing, "It's pouring, it's pouring. The old man is snoring." Snoopy watches as they dance by him, and then he continues on his way thinking, "Idiots."
Oh, man. The LA version was It's Raining.
Yeah.
It's pouring.
That's what I know too.
It is. It's raining. It's pouring. We've definitely discussed this one because I remember that.
Yes, I'm sure, because we've had that same conversation.
Yeah. Anyway, this is indelibly cemented into my brain.
It is.
Yeah, again, I mean, Schultz talked about sophistication in the strip, that he was proud that he felt he was adding a sophistication to the strip. And at first, when he was talking about that as we were starting the Great Peanuts reread, that's not a term I would have thought of. And then with that in the back of my head, as I'm reading these and seeing these, all of a sudden it kind of does feel like that. We know he read Mad Magazine at the time, and Mad seemed to be on a cutting edge of a style of humor that was on the fringes of 50s culture. And he's reading that, and some of the attitudes of that'll come out of characters that you just would not show up in Blondie, right?
No.
And here Schultz is doing it, and it's done with that strange mixture of innocence of the characters, but also, some sharp words that seem to have a lot of weight coming out of Snoopy.
I would love a strip of Dagwood being late for work, and he's running and he's bumbling all over, and he shoots out the door, giving Blondie a kiss, and she's like, "Have a great day." "Okay, get him." Closes the door. Idiot.
Idiot.
November 9th, 1957. This was the middle of a little sequence where Charlie Brown made the mistake of saying dogs are a dime a dozen or something, or Snoopy's.
Dogs like Snoopy are a dime a dozen. Because he's not a
he's a pet. That was my dog. It was pet quality, which made her our quality pet.
Pet quality.
That's what they said.
No.
But Snoopy's annoyed by a dime a dozen, and he just keeps headbutting Charlie Brown, racing from side to side and plowing into him, saying, "A dime a dozen, eh?" Thud. Charlie Brown goes flying in the air. Snoopy from the other direction. "A dime a dozen, eh?" Thud. And the third panel, coming back again from the left. "A dime a dozen, eh?" Thud. Charlie Brown's flying in the air. And the last panel, as Snoopy thuds him one more time, Charlie Brown says, "Somehow I have the feeling that I have offended him."
Man, angry Snoopy.
Yeah, no kidding. So on your anger index, this must
Yeah, well, I do think, was it 58 or something like that? It was like peak anger. It was
Yeah.
off the charts. And I guess Snoopy had a lot to do with that. And a great cartooning. He's making choices. Again, both characters are very stiff in the drawing. So it looks like you really feel the impact. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's longer than Charlie Brown at all.
Yeah. That first panel and the third panel, it's crazy how long he is.
January 23rd, 1958. This is another little sequence where people have been calling Snoopy Fuzzy Face. And he's annoyed by it, and he thinks to himself, here comes Charlie Brown. If he calls me Fuzzy Face again today, I think I'll scream. And Charlie Brown says, good morning, Fuzzy Face. Snoopy's ears shoot skyward. And then in the next panel, Snoopy screams, eee! And Charlie Brown walks away a little shaken and says, that's the first time I ever heard a dog scream.
I'm seeing a little evolution in the snout here. Panel 1, it's a lot fatter than it's been. It's been kind of sausagey, and he's starting to get that big peanut shaped.
This is getting towards my favorite. Like this is getting closer to what they do in the animated special, and stuff.
What do you think of panel 2, Snoopy's face?
That's a weird drawing.
Looks sort of like Halloween.
Yeah, the head doesn't seem to connect with the neck in the right way.
The one thing he doesn't do ever is put any highlight in the eyes. Everybody does that, or almost everybody does that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And he never does it. It's just pure black eyes.
That is interesting. Yeah, and that second panel, I think, strangely, what makes the look on Snoopy's face so arresting, no eyebrows.
Right.
For some reason, that if he had put eyebrows floating above his head, it would somehow have less impact than what he just did here, where they're elongated and the ears are straight up, but there are no eyebrows. There's this weird, creepy look. It's amazing. It's great cartooning.
It is a weird look. Like mentally, I'm getting white out and kind of reshaping the head.
I once was doing a school visit, and I've done hundreds and hundreds of school visits, and I'm drawing Amelia, and someone raises their hand and goes, why do her eyebrows go above her hair? And it just like froze me. Like, I don't know. That's just
I've
the
been
way
found
it
out.
I don't know.
I have no words.
July 18th, 1958, Snoopy is lying on the ground with his head on top of a rock like it's a pillow. And he says, let's see now. There are 250,000 dogs and cats born each day in America. That's 10,000 an hour. Then he's actually like leaning up a little bit. This is shocking him so much. And then he says, or 166 a minute. Good grief. And then he lays his chin on the rock and he looks forlorn and thinks, I'm not unique.
Wow.
I see this leaning towards his 60s style.
Absolutely.
Of not just drawing. I'm talking about Snoopy's, punchlines are generally his thoughts from here on in.
Interesting.
This could have been on the Doghouse if it was a few years later.
And there's no doghouse. That's the difference. But it could be a static 4-panel doghouse roof. Yeah. As he's starting to move Snoopy in another direction.
In panels 1 and 2, you finally see the fulfillment of the title of this strip, his peanut head.
Exactly.
Especially panel 2. And it's such great design.
Yeah.
It's just amazing design. And he's in different poses all 4 panels, and the rules change for the drawing every time.
I am very confused. What's going on with the paws in the last panel? I don't
His
understand.
chest is facing out toward us,
Yeah.
which is very, I don't think this is probably the only time he ever did this. But yeah, isn't it weird looking?
Oh, yeah.
Looks like there's an
Yeah, well,
extra
later
paw.
on,
Yeah.
I think he would eliminate one of those paws, and we would just assume that it's on the other side. I
Yeah.
think he was trying to go for something. He was thinking too much about it.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still a really good job.
Right. Yeah. Tons of experimentation going on here. And I think the fact that he kind of keeps the other paw totally inside the shape of the body for really, it doesn't hurt.
Right.
And when you look at it, it's actually, you kind of admire it, but you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And you're not used to having to figure out something in Peanuts design wise.
I don't know if a neck would actually work like that. If you could actually do that. Of course, he can do anything, but yeah, I'm now looking at it now, I just went like, is there like an extra paw there that he didn't erase?
It's like it was done by AI.
Oh, God. January 3rd, 1959. Lucy walks by Charlie Brown, and she has a whole ream of paper she's carrying, and she looks very pleased with herself. And in the next panel, Charlie Brown looks to see where she has gone because she walked off panel. And then third panel, we see Snoopy chasing Lucy, snapping at her butt as Lucy runs away with the paper she was carrying thrown in the air. And then Snoopy walks back to his doghouse or wherever, leaving a shaken Lucy next to Charlie Brown. And Charlie Brown says, "Some people don't like to have their faults pointed out."
Look at that peanut head in the last
Yeah, I'd never seen that
really
before.
Extreme.
Wow.
I think
that's a change.
Pouting or something.
Yeah, that snout is about the thickness we're going to expect 20, 30 years later.
Yeah, it's really peanutty.
Yeah, so that's a 2-year jump. Or this is 50. We said no 58s here. 59. Yeah, he's getting ready for the 60s.
It's crazy. Like this next one. This is.
He's look how compact the body is compared to some pounds.
Well, yeah. If you check out the body of him racing after Lucy compared to the body of him racing after the Bubbles, it's much more compact now.
What do you think of the rounded but very obvious teeth? You know, that he doesn't fang them out to make him look totally scary.
You know what? I think I probably prefer the rounded ones, maybe.
For Snoopy, I do.
Because the whole strip is round, you know, and curves, and it looks a little less jarring and violent. January 16th, 1959. Snoopy is hugging Charlie Brown and has been hugging him for a while now. Charlie Brown's getting a little sick of it. Charlie Brown is walking around the neighborhood, dragging Snoopy, who has his front paws wrapped around Charlie Brown's torso. And Charlie Brown says, "Anybody around here like dogs?" Next panel, Charlie Brown standing there, and Snoopy's still hugging him. And Charlie Brown continues, "How about it? Are there any dog fanciers around here? Any real dog lovers? How about it?" And he continues walking. Snoopy's still dragging behind him as he hugs Charlie Brown. And Charlie Brown yells, "What do you say? Anyone around here like dogs? How about it, huh? What do you say?" And then he continues walking and just sighs with Snoopy still attached to him. And then we see Lucy, Violet, and Schroeder all hiding behind a big rock.
Yeah, Charlie Brown said something nice about dogs, and Snoopy is just like latched onto him. Won't let go. So he's trying to find someone else to transfer.
That's unusual. Snoopy doesn't usually show that much affection.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I also noticed that he calls him Charlie Brown earlier. So the round-headed kid is way in the future.
Yeah, so he's got his heart on his sleeve here in 1959, and the deep feeling you just get of Snoopy here. Again, what makes Snoopy the greatest comic strip character of all time, greatest cartoon character of all time? He certainly runs the gamut of emotion. He's certainly an underdog, which gives him, I think, the freedom to be things that if he was bigger would make him more off-putting. But he's, I mean, here Schultz is letting him show this incredibly heartfelt need and gratitude. How can that not make you want to kind of bond with this character in some way, even, and then play it off of the fact that the characters in the strip can't handle it?
Yeah.
You really kind of have this opportunity to feel for Snoopy, because Snoopy's in a world where this is not appropriate.
Right.
I think that's genius.
Yep. simple fact of it is too that people love dogs. Like, I saw the new Superman movie, and that Crypto putting the dog in it was a genius idea. As soon as the dog is on screen, you're just disarmed because people dogs are just lovable and loving. And if you can get a dog that has a lot of character, create a dog that has a lot of character, you're well on your way, I think, to having something special.
Yeah, it makes me want to let Snoopy come and give me a hug.
Absolutely,
I'm here.
I take a Snoopy.
But it's also funny because in at least in this world, in this moment, in the Peanuts neighborhood, that is just so inappropriate. Maybe because he's half human in a way, he's going in that direction, and how inappropriate that is.
Yeah, right. June 26, 1959. Lucy has put a bonnet on Snoopy, so now he is acting like a baby, and Charlie Brown is holding him like a baby, roughly. And Charlie Brown says to Lucy, "Look, this is your baby, not mine. I have my own baby sister at home." And he plops Snoopy on the ground. Snoopy just standing there looking ridiculous in his bonnet. And Charlie Brown says to Lucy, "You were the one who put the bonnet on him. Now you take care of him." And Lucy just turns and walks away, saying, "I'm not interested anymore. I have other things to do." And then Charlie Brown takes Snoopy's paw and yells after Lucy, "You're a poor excuse for a mother." And then a very upset Snoopy thinks to himself, "Mama?"
That last panel looks like, makes me think of like Chuck Jones.
Oh, yep.
A character
Absolutely.
Who's got the
I was thinking this could be like a pogo stick.
Or Sweepy.
I love that Snoopy is stiff as a board lying on his back in Charlie Brown's arms too. There's something hilarious about that. It's like he just took a drawing of him standing and turned it 90 degrees. That's hilarious.
He's pretty short. He's pretty compact.
In fact, every drawing of Snoopy in all four of these are absolutely amazing. The little smug look on Snoopy's face as if he thinks Lucy has to take him back because he's her baby.
Yeah.
And then that little look on his, and then you get the impression of an eyebrow, at least I do, on that little baby bonnet just coming out of it, again floating above his head, and the elongated eye that looks like the pupil, everything's just kind of enlarged when he realizes his mother is leaving.
And you don't see his ears, which make him look more baby.
Yeah. So this strange, partially human, but a dog, so I can get away with anything, I think is part of that magic of Snoopy. He's human, but you can't put human rules on him, and therefore he gets away with things that a human couldn't in a comic.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of this particular episode. I have a new segment I'm going to introduce here, guys, that you are not prepared for.
Ooh, I like segments.
Oh, we're never prepared.
Because we're not going to do Strip of the Year, obviously, or MVP, because obviously the MVP would be Snoopy. But we are going to pick Panel of the Episode. So what is our favorite drawing?
Oh, man. Well, I got to go through.
Wow.
Well, I can start since I knew. First off, there's no choice as to me. It's absolutely the green face Snoopy with the big tongue on the soap bubble strip. I like all the drawing in the soap bubble strip. I love how it goes from the smooth, controlled Snoopy to the out of control, expressive Snoopy. And nowhere is that better exemplified than Tier 3, Panel 3 on the June 16th, whatever year it was, strip. That is my panel of the month, or panel of the episode.
Well, I'm just flipping through quickly. I really like it when he says idiots, because the difference between that panel and the first panel is you can't really even see it, but he looks angry in the last panel. And he doesn't look angry in the first panel.
And listen, nobody draws rain like Charles Schultz.
Yeah. There's so much good stuff in here. We just looked at it, and it's as good as anything, and I won't steal another soap bubble panel because there's so many brilliant ones in that. I'll do the last panel we just read.
That's a good one.
Charlie Brown yelling off to Lucy with some of the most amazing, bold, cartoony lettering that is in Schultz's unique style. I don't think anybody else is lettering quite like that. I love that. And that little drawing of Snoopy looking out at us with big wide eyes and a baby bonnet and with a little tie underneath, and his little paw in Charlie Brown's hand is genius. You know.
Liz, how about you?
Yeah, Liz.
November 22nd, 1955, with Charlie Brown saying, "Oh, stop it," when Snoopy is doing Lucy.
That's another great one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my, and you should have seen the ones I had to cut in the last minute. I got it down to 30, and then it was torture getting it down to 20.
I bet.
Well, I will tell you what, it says a lot for the work of this cartoonist that after 170 some episodes and going through the entire thing from beginning to end, we're still entertained by it and still want to talk more about it and find new things in it. That's just, that's what art's all about. And no one did it like Mr. Schultz. So that's the first episode of Understanding Snoopy. We're going to be back in 2 weeks where we pick up where we left off and we take Snoopy into the good old World War I flying ace era and all the fun stuff of the 60s. So be there and we'll be looking out for you. All right, so see you in 2 weeks. Until then, from Michael, Harold, and Liz, this is Jimmy saying, be of good cheer.
Yes.
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 Be of good cheer. Unpacking Peanuts is copyright Jimmy Gownley, Michael Cohen, Harold Buchholz, and Liz Sumner. Produced and edited by Liz Sumner. Music by Michael Cohen. Additional voiceover by Aziza Shakrala Clark. For more from the show, follow Unpack Peanuts on Instagram and Threads. Unpacking Peanuts on Facebook, Blue Sky, and YouTube. For more about Jimmy, Michael, and Harold, visit unpackingpeanuts.com. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for listening.
That was chopping, man.